It was almost 21 years ago. I went to see a movie with a friend and his girlfriend, Tammy. It was 1998's Thin Red Line, a movie about war. Upon leaving the theater, Tammy launched into a short rant about how there were no prominent female characters in the movie. I couldn't help but chuckle. Writing a woman prominently into the Thin Red Line would be like writing a crackhead into the storyline for Mary Poppins. And I asked her at the time, "Let me get this right. You're saying that they should have just jammed a prominent female character in there and reshaped the entire story for no other reason than to have a female character?" "Yes, that is what I mean," she said, without hesitating or blinking. I should mention at this point that Tammy was a dancer, not the Broadway musical kind, if you know what I mean. To be polite and to be totally fair, she was dumb as a fence post. I'm not laughing at her, though, because Tammy, complete with her opinions and her thong collection, was being prophetic. Her ideas about movie making were destined to become the status quo in Tinseltown. And we've seen that play out in the wasted remnants of once great blockbuster movie franchises whose legacy has come to a whimpering, feminized end at the hands of SJW producers and an increasingly brainwashed general public. Iconic movie series, from The Terminator to Star Wars to Road Warrior and others, have either minimized or outright evicted their male leads, diminishing the quality of the films in question. I'm not talking about the box office necessarily. Some of the movies, like Fury Road and The Force Awakens, were smash financial hits, largely, I suspect, on the momentum that earlier installments provided. Others, like Ghostbusters 2016 and its all-female cast, bet the farm on woman power and lost $70 million. They also managed to take a classic bar-raising comedy and make it about as funny as a paper cut. I can just hear Christopher Hitchens laughing his ass off. Destroyed legacies and evaporated money isn't even slowing down Hollywood's epic decline into narrative madness. I suppose that shouldn't be surprising given the social justice leftards, sewer rats, and kitty diddlers who thrive in that town. It seems that some time ago, maybe about the same time as my very special moment with Tammy the dancer, said leftards, rats, and diddlers decided to start making films so that women like Tammy would like them. And by the way, a slight digression here, none of what I'm saying has anything to do with bias against female action heroes. Matter of fact, Sigourney Weaver of Aliens fame rings in squarely in my top 3 action roles of all time. Her character, named Ripley, was gritty, dark, unpainted, and incredibly ballsy. She carried the role convincingly, though it didn't hurt that she was in one of the best sci-fi action movies ever made. Moving on, though, I don't even mind so much when movie producers bother to take the time to come up with their own female characters. Lara Croft sucked, in my opinion, but at least it was original. All these overhyped women heroes riding atop art sold to politics all have pretty much the same problem. They are big-budget versions of Xena, the warrior princess. Indeed, Xena films deserves to be a modern genre. Many Americans will remember the Xena TV series. It ran from 1995 to 2001 and starred Lucy Lawless as a flawlessly made-up vixen of near-perfect proportions who practiced high-octane chopsaki in a way that only John Woo could improve on. She literally flew around the fight scenes, her boobs threatening to jiggle out of her breastplate, dispatching one hapless male character after another without as much as a smudge on her pancake makeup. The way they filmed the fight scenes was a hoot. As you'll see in the clip linked below, 4 bad guys with weapons try to converge on her. But she does a backflip up the side of a tree and into a special chop-socky maneuver over their heads. She gives them all a good bitch slap. Then the camera zooms in on her putting the Hollywood hurt on one guy at a time. We can't see them at this point, but we know that the other 3 guys are still out there, shaking their fists at no one in particular and waiting for their turns to get clobbered by the action hero. And of course, she eventually gets to all of them. This is what I'm talking about here. Movies are supposed to suspend disbelief in the viewer so that people can immerse themselves in the story. Hell, very few men, if any, could fill the shoes of an action hero in real life. But they can pretend to credibly enough, and women usually can't or don't. The more recent movies have done a little better job at learning from examples like Ripley, but we are still largely getting the offspring of Xena in every stab at a feminized action hero. It's a succession of faux titanium princesses, and they'd fit better in porn than a serious action movie. But of course, I'm not just complaining about bad movies here. What I'm talking about is nothing less than an effort to feminize the action genre. And by feminize, I mean erase the men from the picture, except as caricatures. After all, out of sight, out of mind. So what if a movie sucks? So when I heard Hollywood was gearing up to give us a female James Bond, linked, I didn't even pretend to be surprised or outraged. I'm happy for the sheeple of the world to have their female James Bond. I also really didn't react when I heard that the SJWs had their panties in a twist because, reminiscent of Tammy the Dancer, there wasn't a female lead in the just-released movie titled Ford vs. Ferrari, a true story about, 2 men. I'll link that for you as well. I mean, I always enjoy seeing SJWs get bent out of shape about whatever bit of reality du jour is bothering them. But them getting upset about women not being in a story about men isn't even novel enough anymore for me to pay it much mind. As a matter of fact, I said all of that to say this. I couldn't care less about any of this stuff. Indeed, the one thing these years of red pill life in a blue pill world has taught me is just how few things in the blue pill world are worth caring about. You want Brad Pitt to play Joan of Arc? Fine by me. Get Spielberg on it. Get Rosie O'Donnell to play the lead role in all the Avatar sequels for all I care. There's a lot of bad movies in the world. A few more won't hurt. I've got far too many avenues for entertainment than to worry about just another part of blue pill life that is circling the drain, that being the movie industry. Hell, the whole blue pill world is circling the drain as far as I can see. I mean, why should I get outraged over what Hollywood has done to the world of celluloid make-believe when the so-called normal world sat on its hands while higher education, our governance, and the family were all destroyed by the very same brand of shitty people? If I'm going to get mad at anything, really mad, it isn't going to be at the 6th installment of Terminator, for pity's sake. If anything, I'm grateful these clowns gave me something to write about, and that by being occupied with wrecking a movie franchise, they weren't occupied with wrecking something actually important. If Hollywood wants to produce movies geared to make social justice warriors sit around and fist pump in a masturbatory frenzy, so be it. They do a lot of that shit over even stranger things than movies. I'm just honestly wondering why I should care. I can't think of anything easier to do than to not watch a movie. And that is it for this talk. Before I close, though, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have purchased my new book, Men, Women, and Relationships, and for those of you who've left such glowing reviews on Amazon. There's a link below to the Kindle and paperback versions, as well as a link to signed copies for U.S. readers. Thanks again for listening, guys. I hope you've enjoyed, even if you haven't. and we'll see you next time.